Okay.
How's the new job, Margarita?
Day 2, so
Day 2.
still getting used to IT and logging in, logging out, checking in, you know.
All the fun stuff at the start, yeah.
Crazy bit.
Right.
Afternoon.
It's like looking at Crime Watch, or possibly Celebrity Squares.
You got the mirror on, Gerard.
Ooh, yeah, that's a bit cheeky, right?
Hey, everybody's been so polite, so I've just had to bring the tone down a little bit. I do apologise.
Yeah, dear me. How is everybody, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, very well indeed, yeah. I'm seeing.
Hi there.
Hi, Karen. How you doing?
Very good. Yeah, sorry, I've got a new laptop and it wouldn't recognise Zoom, so I thought it's easier just to dial in on my phone. It seems to not. You have to download it from the Apple Store.
Ah, well, see, so I've been reverting back to Zoom because I bought some new headphones, and when I plug them in with Teams, it just crashes.
Oh, does it? Okay.
I'll tell you what, you know, since Bill Gates has got divorced, it's completely ruined everything. Albeit, apparently he had an affair, didn't he, at Microsoft? That's why they threw him out. I don't know if you've read that. Not that up on celebrity
Gossip.
So Margarita, you're in from a different company now.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your new role.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
The whole happened quite quickly, so yeah, need to get used to that. But yeah, it's good.
Right, and sir, I think what we are going to do today will probably be a fairly shortish session, I guess, because a couple of things on the update. So one is, I think Charlie is going to give us just a bit of an update on where we are with the students, and then I think I saw Jan this morning. Actually, I'm going to give you just a little bit of feedback from. We had a discussion with the CITB actually, so I'll give a bit of feedback on that, and then I think we'll just talk about the next sort of action. So Charlie, can you just give us a bit of an update? So I mean, we've got a very successful student on the phone on the call today as well, haven't we? You're our most successful student, Caroline.
Oh my goodness, am I?
You are, yeah.
I didn't realise that. Oh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was a fairly small population, to be fair, wasn't it?
Oh, that's okay then. I don't feel so swotty. I don't think that's ever happened in my life.
One hand and take away with the other.
I think you've done a very good job. So okay, Charlie, do you want to just give us a bit of an update, and then I think we're going to try and have a proper bit of feedback when a written report from Gary in maybe in the next 3 or 4 weeks, Jan.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
For the a bit of chasing up to do, but yes, yeah.
All right. Charlie? can you
Yeah,
give us a bit of an update,
great.
please?
So, yeah, I think people, including Karen, getting along very well. So we've got 5 candidates now who have completely finished, and they have been IQA'd as well. So that's all going well. We've got a couple of people who have withdrawn throughout the course. I won't name names, but that's fine as well. There's a lot of sort of commitment with work issues and stuff and things like that, which can't be avoided, unfortunately. And then we've got a couple of people who are well on the way, and some who I think, speaking to people, have started but are yet to submit anything for assessment. So I think pretty much everyone has got going with it. I say we're on a good level, a good sort of, quite a few people have actually finished it, which is showing that it's not only achievable, it's achievable in a good time scale as well, I think. So
Yeah. Okay. So we're probably going to draw a line. I spoke to Jan this morning. We'll probably draw a line through Gary in 2, 3, 4 weeks. Jan.
I think so. I think if we give it another 4 weeks, shall we say,
Yeah.
and then I mean, if you have to keep chasing people to that degree, the
They're not
chances
doing
of
it.
them really moving forward with it are pretty slim,
Yeah.
I would think. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, if you can we get Gary or somebody please from Procol to present the results with Charlie at the next session, and
Yeah,
just tell us the full feedback, the data, and you've done some of your Survey Monkey stuff, have you, Charlie, during the course of this?
yeah, so Rachel and I have been doing that.
Yeah.
I think we've got some more to send out, certainly.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, we've been getting some info from that.
Okay, so one of the main agenda points at the next meeting, please, will be to have a final review of how it's gone in terms of that, because I think that will then give us some discussion points for going forward. So if we can do that, that'd be good. So that's
Yeah,
number one.
make sure that's sorted.
Yeah. Number 2, we spoke to, so we haven't got any further yet with the ESFA, because they are still very focused on practical skills in terms of bricklaying, as opposed to learning about being a businessman and that sort of side of it. So we haven't got any further with them, but we had quite an interesting discussion with the CITB this morning. Probably a fairly one-way discussion, but we did have a discussion with them, and we had a meeting with Sarah Beale, who's the CEO of CITB, and Peter Launer, who is the chair of CITB. And we talked about a number of sort of areas, and Peter particularly was interested in the functional sort of skill bits inside the future construction, and he actually, it was him who actually said back to us that with the change in the change in working patterns for younger people, and people want to have periods of work, non-work, possibly self-employment, sabbaticals, etc. He felt our focus around these skills and enterprising, agile working, that sort of style, that he felt was probably an advantage compared to other qualifications. So I think one of the questions I will be interested after we've had the feedback would be, do we think these qualifications will remain standalone, or should we be looking to thread them, as Jan would say, into other practical qualifications, particularly around level 1 to 3? So maybe just a quick question to you, Karen. You've done the course. How did you feel it compared as a standalone qualification?
I think you do need to weave it into a function that obviously you're doing. I found that it was kind of easier because I was just using all the practical examples I've been doing over the last few months, but I definitely think you need to weave it into something else that you're doing, whether that's practical or whether that's of a kind of academic nature. So I think in terms of the course, to market it accordingly, really, as something that's integral to who you are.
Okay, so I think that's probably what you said as well, Jan, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I would say that would be the best way to go. I'm not sure that CITB, outside of Peter, would agree with that, though. I think they're very precious about their their existing qualifications and more into reviewing the existing than perhaps quite the radical approach of the innovation that we're bringing with the these TFOC qualifications. So I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing, but I think ultimately it would be the best way to go. And also, you are likely then to get funding against them because they'll be part of a qualification that would also have a skill achieved at the end of it. So I think a mixture, a blending approach of both would by far be the best. How we get them to accept that, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so you've got 250 construction qualifications ish, Jan, is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, Pam, yeah, okay. So I mean, I don't want to preempt what we're going to hear in a few weeks, but are we suggesting that maybe we could have a TFOC module aligned to those qualifications? Is that what you're thinking?
I think we could look at them, Pam, do you not think, and look how we could thread the elements of the TFOC qualifications into existing. And I think maybe to take maybe 2 or 3 qualifications and how we could do that with those rather than take the whole lot and wonder how it could be done might be the best approach. Would you say, Pam?
I would. There are only soft skills in the TFOC qualifications, and they fit anywhere, so they can easily embed rather into any of the existing qualifications that we've got. We would have to share them because everyone delivers the same thing, but that's not an issue, is it?
No, but if we threaded them in and we created a new qualification out of that, it's either we wouldn't have to share them because they'd be pro-qual qualifications, or we'd have to get CITB to agree to them be threaded into the existing ones, in which case we would have to share them then because, which isn't a problem, but because they would become CITB qualifications.
But the advantage of keeping them as pro-qual qualifications is that we could get rid of that horrible little NVQ bit that's in the titles and give them some sexy name and make them attractive to people.
And which would lend itself more to the future rather than the here and now, which is still from the conversation this morning. I haven't had a chance to catch up, Gerard, with Pam since
That's okay.
I fought my way out of Hull, not knowing where the hell I was going. Anyway, I think, you know, I think that would be the better way, and then we could just apply for funding.
Yeah.
But whether industry would see it that way without the sort of, I don't know, would you call it clout of CITB behind it? I'm not sure.
What's it? Just I mean, we've got F&G, we've got TNT, ISG here, Margarita. You know, I keep hearing that CITB is not great. Is it people, you know, don't think they're doing a great job? I mean, is that really what we think? Is that what the industry thinks?
I just think they've gone through a change. I think they do actually. There's a number of individuals that do. I just think there's quite a lot of red tape that you have to go through to access funding. I mean, I wasn't successful doing it through there, but I think they've just got their layers of bureaucracy that you have to navigate through. But they've definitely undergone a change program.
For the better or for the
well, I think
for the treading water.
CS card, they were sort of managing that, but now it isn't. And then they had a head office, and I think some of their structure has changed. But I'm sure, obviously, they're still, you know, I think they were just going through initial teething problems. But
Do you still pay them a CITB levy?
Yeah, you do, according to your, I guess, your size and turnover and everything.
There's quite a lot of money that you pay them then.
Yeah, it's a proportion done on a percentile of overall for the group. So it is quite a large sum because obviously we're a large organisation. But we do pay a levy. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've tried to act that levy for different courses as well. you have to be quite explicit about how you're going to use that, and it has to be given to your supply chain partners rather than yourself. And you can't stipulate where you use that training grant or funding monies. So it's quite staunch on how they do that.
Did you say you attempted to claim money for this qualification?
No, for a previous, for
Right.
the applied diploma, I
Right.
tried to access funding, and they, I won't go into the logistics of it, but eventually they said that they couldn't.
So okay, so I'm just wondering. So I'm wondering if you applied. I mean, we didn't ask Sarah today, did we, actually, Jan? But I'm just wondering if we applied, if an organisation applied to do this qualification, what they would say. I mean, that's maybe a question for us to ask them, isn't it?
It is. I think they would take the view, Gerard, that they're not construction qualifications because they're all soft skills.
Well, I would take issue with that, with Peter then, because he was adamant. He came back to me on that specific point, didn't he? He thought that was the most interesting part of the qualification. That you know, because what he was saying was, for everybody's benefit, he was saying that many young people now will end up in micro businesses or possibly working for themselves, because that's the nature of our industry. So having skills which would prepare them for that was probably better than focusing purely on laying a brick. Obviously, laying a brick is important if you're going to lay bricks, but if you're going to be a self-employed layer of bricks, then you know there's other skills you need, isn't there? And so I'm wondering I get your point, but I'm wondering whether and normally when you get a CITB levy, is it a particular amount? Is it a relative amount or an absolute amount? Does anybody know?
I don't know the answer to that. It's all I know is we do it on the size and scale, and it's a percentile, and it goes into a separate pot, and it can only be used and stipulated for certain training.
Okay.
I think they have like a schedule of what they'll allow the funding to be, or the levy to be used for. And so if you come up with something different, I'm not sure that the departments communicate perhaps as well as they could do, which is why sometimes I think people get turned down for funding, because if it's not in the face on their schedule, they'll simply say no, possibly.
Okay. All right. Okay. What about TNT and F&G's view of CITB? Do you interface with them at all?
No, we don't. Well, I'm sure our business does to some degree, but not really, if I'm to be honest.
Okay.
But we're mainly going to be our ICS and APM, really.
Yeah, because of the consultancy side and the services.
Yeah, similar position.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So CITB is really predominantly around the construction side then, contracting side, should I say? All right. Okay. So I mean, you know, I've sort of half drafted an email back to Peter, Jan, which I'll send to him.
Okay.
So and I think I will actually pursue these bits and pieces really. So okay. All right. So okay. So I think where we are then. So we did a bit of work on the pricing, which I'm not so sure we can promote just yet. Charlie, I don't know if you can remember what the pricing was.
I can find out pretty quick, but I can't remember, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I think the question is, I mean, unless these are funded, do we? I mean, Karen, you've done these courses. I mean, would ISG buy these off the shelf, or do you think they have to be funded? Do we have to make them virtual or free, should I say?
I think you would have to make them free or as part of the framework learning or upskilling.
Okay.
As part of, you know, in terms of, if you're going to look at it as part of, say, the kind of Pagabo framework itself, and how you would then upskill the members or the supply chain members or partners of there. I think possibly you could get, I don't know, I think you could get a fee that way, but I think it would be very marketable to show that as an organisation you're still upskilling, we're learning all the time.
See, interesting enough, I mean, I've read through these qualifications. They're probably more aligned. They're quite generic. So they're not very contractor focused or consultant focused. They do actually cut across all elements of it, which I think is quite interesting. I mean, obviously, there is an element of a cost there with the registration fee, isn't it, Jan? Which has to be sort of covered. But that's so I suppose the the question would be, I mean, where did we get to on the baseline costs, Charlie?
So for a level 1 to 3 qualification, if we're just doing one, the price would be £175. But on a sliding scale, the more you do, so 50 is 145 each, 100 is 135 each. And then if you're going to do level 4 and 5, you've got your base price, one of them being £245, and then that goes from down to 180, 172 with that sliding scale again with those numbers.
So I think what you're saying, Karen, is if that was the price into the, and that includes a certification fee. So what you're saying is companies might struggle to pay that, but you think if we could come up with a more inclusive element, do you think any companies with ISG? I mean, I think you enjoyed doing the course. Tell me, don't feel pressure to say you did if you didn't. But
yeah, no, I did enjoy it, but it was just lucky because well, it's not lucky. I think it's the role that I do is very enjoyable. So I was able to apply all the skills to what I do every day to then the course itself. So that actually, it was just something that I just applied the knowledge really. So that was really good.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's exactly how it should be. That's exactly what it should be. Yeah.
All right. So we've got to come up with I think we've got to come up with some sort of financial proposition. What I think Karen's saying is the 145 quid, they're not going to fly off the shelf, is what you're telling me at this stage. So we either get some funding or we look at a different sort of proposition. So
I think your funding route would be the best option if you could go through your contact to say about the different transient skills and try and get the CITB funding. I think that would be a better way. Then you could weave it into the framework to say it's about upskilling and learning and keeping, the members and the partners all, applying their knowledge and sharing their knowledge.
It might be, Gerard, that when we come out of the moratorium, it could be that they will start funding qualifications like this again, because it's only whilst we're in the moratorium that they're not attracting any funding at all. So the ESFA might fund them, and then if you're doing 2 qualifications, say a traditional construction-based qualification, and you have this as an add-on, then it would be enough to just get some funding towards it, because the same assessor could take them through both parts. And we don't know yet, Pam, do we? We haven't got
there's no information on dates at all.
No, I mean the government have obviously focused on other things at the moment, I would guess. But okay. So what we're talking about is ESFA funding for when the moratorium lifts, or convincing them in the meantime, but that's more difficult for anybody at the moment, or convincing the CITB to allow them to be funded using the CITB levy.
Yeah.
There are 2 funding routes, and if we can do that and get the cost down to quite low, and I work for a number at you, Karen, but I think what you're saying, if the cost is extremely low, there is a chance that these could be consumed, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think it's not about that. I think it's about the value that it can bring, and especially how we then market it within the framework. That's my personal opinion. I think we've got to look at the business benefit of how we do that, and then what extra skills it will give to the framework members and their supply chain. I think that's how I'd approach it if I was putting a case together within our own business.
Has anybody approached the DWP to see whether on their books they would fund qualifications like this or courses like this for individuals that are probably changing career, having to change jobs because they find themselves, particularly from hospitality, out of work? Because that's the other.
I linked in the DWP with Gerard. Well, I had a meeting and then I introduced the concept and then had to do it that way around and just said, look, I can then pass on the details if necessary. And I explained about how that could be about retraining, but they had their set targets around sort of NEETs and young individuals and young people. So that was what their sort of initial focus was. But again, that could be another team. So we could maybe approach another team for funding.
But level 1 and level 2 would be appropriate for those categories, would it not? Would they not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would do, but I think we'd need to. I could give you the contact and we could ask the question. Definitely,
Yeah,
I
think
I
it's worth
forwarded on the
asking.
information.
I think
Yeah.
it's worth asking, because if you're thinking about the needs, I mean, they're predominantly going back to what Peter said to you, Gerard, about the 40,000 going to college, and there's only 10,000 of that 40,000 end up with an actual job or moving on somewhere. Whereas if the DWP funded them to the NEETs people to go on to I don't know, even if it was a bricklaying course, as well as doing this as added value, that would be a really good way to get out. Then they're going forward with two things on the CVs. The bricklaying they might get fed up with, but the TFOC qualifications, they're a little bit more sexy than just learning how to do bricklaying, for example.
Is it feasible to do a standard skills based and the TFOC at the same time? They're not mutually exclusive, are they?
No, and actually
complementary. Actually,
I would say complementary. Agreed. And the other thing is that quite often DWP, if you put like a program of learning together for individuals, then they're quite open to look at and fund that, particularly if it's not going to last a long time, because they want the turnaround, and for them it's the outcome. So by doing this, if you can get colleges to agree to deliver them, then they can the colleges can offer those, because they're the ones that have the DWP contracts.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if I've missed that, Karen, would you mind sending that again, your contact details, please?
Yeah. Shall I? I can send you what I'd contacted before, who I'd contacted before, and how I tried to open the door for you to get an introduction. So I'll forward that on to you.
Yes, please. Yeah. And
Okay.
then Charlie will contact them.
Okay, fine.
Charlie, good lad. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think that's probably where we're up to now. I mean, we haven't done a huge amount because Charlie's obviously he's actually, we're lucky he's at work today because he's had that many injections this week. His shoulder blade or wherever it is. Where have you had your injection?
So in between the ball and the socket of my shoulder. So that was a fun morning yesterday. But no, it seems these meetings bring out the worst in my shoulder. It seems that whenever we have these meetings, something goes wrong with it, which is why we've had to postpone a few. So apologies for that, but couldn't really be helped, I'm afraid.
All right. Okay. All right. So I think what we want to do now then is we've done quite a bit of work on this. So I'd like to try and make some decisions and some direction of travel at the next session. So I'd like us to have a proper fix. So I'd like to the next session with some proper feedback. And then I think we probably would like to, I'm just looking at my notes here. I think we've got to try and have had maybe a discussion with, I mean, ESFA, we're not in control of that discussion, are we, Jam?
No, not really, no.
The CITV we probably are, and the DWP we probably are. So I think we could do that. And then I think with that, we've got, and then I suppose one of the things we need to think about it's more about, if Pagabo put a couple of hundred people through it, through the qualification, that has a particular cost. So we've just got to understand what that might mean as well. So okay. All right. Okay. So can we? Yeah.
Maybe, I know Karen has some contacts, but it might be an idea to go directly to somebody, one of the managers at Job Centre Plus in Hull.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know people at Job Centre Plus. No.
I'll do a bit of digging around, because sometimes they will, not a competition, but if a local region, if we could put something together that they would do again, doing a pilot to demonstrate how it can be advantageous. You might get, rather than trying to go at national level, if you can go in at a local level, we might stand a chance of running a pilot, proving its success, and then it will get rolled out wider.
Okay. All right. Well, can you take that as an action then, please, Jan?
Yeah.
If you take that as an action. So I think Charlie, you just need to send some dates for about 4 weeks, 5 weeks time. So end of June or third week, fourth week in June.
Yeah, that's fine. So if we got another 4 weeks of the candidates being able to finish, and then we'll probably need about a week to compile some.
Yeah, I think so. When I spoke to Jan this morning, we're going to try and get Gary to focus on that and give, and we'll end up with some sort of report and feedback for us. I do have one other point just to mention to everybody. Are you aware of? I mean, one of the things that came out of the CITB meeting this morning, and I don't know whether you're aware of this, anybody, but Sarah Beale told me that they've got a database of 6.8 million people who, and all of the qualifications that all these people have got. And apparently the industry is every day writing these qualifications up and all down. Is any of you aware they had a database of everybody's training records in the UK?
I thought that was part of the apprenticeship.
She was making out
apprenticeship thing.
No, she was saying, I mean, she actually referred to Kia actually. Oh. She actually said, well, Kia, obviously, they update their records and it has all the blah, blah. Were you aware of that, anybody? Were you aware of that? I mean, I don't know whether in your organisations you come across it, but...
Yeah, I don't specifically interact with them on a daily basis, but I wonder if that's because of the training that related to the old construction card. So every bit of their training has to go onto a log and a database, and they used to run that. So I wonder if that was linked to that.
That will be it.
Yeah.
I asked if we could have a copy of it. One particularly happy with that. Well, no, not that's maybe a bit unfair.
But they don't do anything with it.
What's the point of it then?
That's what we sort of came.
GDPR. They don't know how to. You know, they've got all these people there and all this data, all this information, and they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah, I just didn't know whether anybody. I presume the database will be a bit of a dog, really, because when we probed a little bit with her, she was very reluctant to allow anybody to interact. It's not ready at the moment. We've got to do some work on it. This, that, and the other. Well, it's in our plans. Well, I don't know what that means, but okay. So I didn't know there was like a. It just strikes me that if there's an industry, if there's a list of everybody who's in the industry with all their training records on it, that's quite. I would have thought it'd be quite useful to the industry. But,
yeah, agreed. I suspect Jan probably would have a better idea as well, whether it was linked to that original card and then to do with your site training courses.
Yeah, I think it probably was, and they've developed the card a little bit over the years, but the database itself has never really gone anywhere. In fact, Pam, now I come to think about it, what's his name, who went to work in Texas or wherever, I can't remember, from CSCS.
Oh, right, yeah.
Gordon Jenkins.
Donald Trump.
Talking about that. Yeah.
I just think it might be useful. Why don't we all ring up and say, could you tell me what records you've got for us, please?
They'd have Boris's phone number, wouldn't they? So you could phone him direct.
Yeah, probably, Karen. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So anyway, okay. All right. So roughly, Charlie, when will that be then?
So we're 5 weeks from today. Is the 22nd of June.
Okay. Anybody flying anywhere on the 22nd of June?
No.
So, well, I'm hoping to go on holiday in July, but not before then. So we'll see. So, you think that will be enough time, Jan?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, because I mean, the ones that are, we can follow up on the ones that are progressing, but I think the ones that haven't really submitted anything, I don't think you're going to get anything out of them now. So we can draw a line under those after a final follow up, because I would like to know why they didn't submit anything. I think that would be interesting to go into the mix, like they didn't have time or whatever. So we'll try and
today they weren't happy with it, weren't very interesting. Or,
so I think that's a fair time. Yeah.
And Charlie, I think you must get your Survey Monkey thing sorted, please, with Rachel and what have you, because I think getting those questions, getting that feedback should I say, is quite important, because I think it's not just who's done it. We need to know is it good? We need to understand the qualitative side, not just the quantity side of what's happened, please.
Yeah,
I think
we're already on with that.
We might
Yeah,
need a bit of
Charlie,
that.
I'm one of yours that needs to give you feedback. I've not ignored you. I know I've got to do it. I'm just doing other stuff at the minute, so I thought I'd sidetrack that and then do it at a later stage. So I haven't forgotten you.
Okay. All right. So if everybody's okay with that, are you any other questions?
Well, I've just got this. F&G have asked me to get a bit of feedback on something which they're presenting, or they're kind of. Well, I'll show you all. So F&G have asked me to get some feedback from you guys on a equality, diversity, and inclusion kind of digital first leaflet they're sending around. So I'll just share my screen here, so I can send this to you all after the call. It's a nice bit of kit which kind of takes you around, gives you some moments to talk about that sort of stuff. Well, yeah, basically they want to be leaders in this field, and looking to promote it and promote kind of the upskilling of people for it. So the feedback they're kind of looking for, and I'll put this all in an email for you, but is does this set out to upskill people? Does it do what it intends? Is the structure correct? Does it challenge the way you think or act? Does it promote enough discussion? Does the content provide enough moments? Where is it lacking? And then, where does it fit in today's society if we're kind of thinking about, Black Lives Matter movement and the Sarah Everard and things, and what's going on in the news. So I think I thought it'd be good to sort of share with this group, because we're all, all in that kind of area of upskilling and education and things. And this, this fits in very nicely with TFOC are trying to achieve being digital first and that kind of collaborative working as well. So if I forward it on to you, if you get time, any sort of feedback on it would be really appreciated, and I can pass it on to F&G. So yeah, hopefully,
who's the champion at F&G?
So the champion at F&G who's dealing with this is Ella Sanders.
Right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Is she out of your Liverpool office?
Warrington. Yeah.
Oh, Warrington. Yeah. Okay.
Same place, really.
Warrington, Liverpool. Very
yeah.
Similar. Yeah. She was involved in a podcast with me, actually. She's very good, actually. So he's quite good. So, but what all of you are doing is doing great sort of work in the space. I mean, interesting enough, we've got two people from F&G on the call. I mean, have you seen it? Are you?
At the moment, yeah. So just to put a bit of context to it, it's not a standalone training pack as such. We use it at the beginning of all our meetings. It's moved on from a health and safety moment. And it's been, we have sort of a 5-10 minute spot at the beginning of each of the particularly larger meetings, where we discuss pertinent things that are happening, and try and upskill people and get some debate going for 5 minutes or so. And that's what we use this Moments Pack for when we're looking at ED&I topics, just to give people a bit of a steer as to where to go and how to sort of guide some of the questions.
So it's actually, yeah, well, I remember when health and safety moments were introduced. Actually, I remember being in a Wilmot Dixon meeting a few years ago, and that happened. It was the first time I had experienced it, actually. So it's obviously moved on then. So.
Yeah, typically anything over 4 or 5 people on a meeting will have a meeting moment as such.
Yeah, thanks for that, Carl. And do you record these? You record the outputs of the meetings as well, and then you feed them all into LD or something?
Yes and no. It depends what the moment is. Sometimes it's just a link to if you're particularly short on time, it might just be a link to a particular area for people to go away and have a look at. Otherwise, you have a discussion group and it gets tied into the minutes then of the meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So you're going to send it around, Charlie?
Yep, will do.
Okay, so that's good. All right, so that was Charlie's AOB. Anybody else got any AOB? Have you got your hand up, Margarita, or just holding a wall up? Seemed like you're holding. I thought you had your hand up like that.
No, I'm in a small space and I feel a bit slightly claustrophobic. I want to get out.
You want to get out? Yeah, you're having a moment.
Having a moment, yeah.
In a moment, right? Get
on day 2.
They're knocking down walls here, which is why I keep turning off the volume. They're taking down 2 walls today. So sorry about that, a bit loud.
That's okay. All right, good. All right, okay. If nobody else has got anything else, that'd be great then. Okay, all right, and thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks
Okay,
all.
everyone.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Ian.
the rest of the day.
I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.